Everything's up for grabs. All 32 teams at work. Which team intrigues you the most? I asked this of Mark Schlereth yesterday, so I'll ask you as well. Which one do you think is the most intriguing, interesting team entering 2022? DJ.
Well, I think there's a lot of really intriguing teams that we've talked about for the last 3-4 months. And I don't know, maybe I'm just sick of talking about all those teams for all the, kind of the drama we've had. I started looking at it the other day and I was like, okay, I'm trying to identify the teams that I have not heard one word the entire offseason about. And I think the team that was number one on my list was the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
And that's why I love the NFL, because there's so many great stories there, with Kevin O'Connell coming in there. He pledges allegiance to Kirk Cousins, as everybody from the Sean McVay tree is supposed to do. They've got talent on the defensive side of the ball. They've got Dalvin Cook. They've got maybe the best young receiver in the NFL in Justin Jefferson. So this is a team that could be a double-digit win team. Could make a little bit of a run in the playoffs, and we've heard bupkis about them the entire offseason. So the stories like that, how they get going, how Kirk Cousins does with a coach who 100% believes in him, which I think we would all agree he didn't have the last few years.
And are we sure that Kevin O'Connell does, in fact, 100% believe in him? Are we sure of that?
Yes, you're not allowed to work for Sean McVay unless you sign a contract that says Kirk Cousins is my favorite player in the NFL.
Put more bean on those bones, Daniel. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, they were all together, and they all love Kirk, because Kirk, you can kind of play quarterback from the sideline through Kirk because he's incredibly smart, and you can get to the line of scrimmage and kind of tell him what's happening, and he's going to do it exactly like you say you want it done. So those guys were all together kind of in Washington. McVay was there during that time. McVay loved him. You know, Shanahan, there was all that talk when Kyle Shanahan wanted to get him to San Francisco. So that whole tree is just has always had an affinity for Kirk Cousins.
Okay. So what does it look like in the best case scenario? What do you got for me here?
I think they got a really good shot being a playoff team. I think Green Bay is going to be the obvious pick in that division.
Sure.
But if you were saying what could be kind of the upset division winner, I would go with the Minnesota Vikings. And again, this is the first conversation on a national show about the Minnesota Vikings the entire offseason. I'm quite certain.
Well, there have been a lot of other interesting stories to hit, so maybe that's part of it. What about an AFC team that might be intriguing to you that hardly anybody's talking about? I've got one that people have been talking about, but I've got the Miami Dolphins is fascinating to me because of Tyreek Hill talking up Tua for the Heisman, and Mike McDaniel coming in, a lot of track meet type players there. Defensively has been a strong suit for them prior to Brian Flores' departure. What do you think?
No, I think that's a dangerous team, and it's there's that division there's been a lot discussed there, with Buffalo kind of almost being the favorite here in the AFC as we come into the season. You've got New England and all the talk about Mac Jones taking the next step, and he's in great shape. But when you look at, and obviously your Jets with all the moves they made, but the Dolphins, that's a dynamic group, and it's you can say it's all on the quarterback, but it kind of feels that way. They're going to be solid in just about every department, and it's a matter of whether or not Tua can elevate. If he can elevate, again, this is another team that's got double-digit win potential because they're as explosive as any team in the league right now. Daniel
Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. A dramatic improvement is what Bill Belichick said in relation to Mac Jones this offseason. Trey Lance, it's now his gig. We saw what the Jets added for Zach Wilson. Trevor Lawrence, again, has Doug Peterson now and not Urban Meyer at his side, and we all know Justin Fields has a challenge in front of him. That said, which second-year quarterback do you think is going to take the biggest leap this year, Daniel?
Well, I'll say Trey Lance, just because he's not starting from the ground, right? We didn't get a chance to see him very much last year, and you get to a place where they have a good offensive line, they have great weapons around him, and he's got if not the best play caller in the NFL, top 2-3 in Kyle Shanahan in terms of putting him in a position to be successful. It's going to look a little different. He's not going to play the position the same way that Garoppolo played it. But all that stuff that we were so fired up at the draft when he got picked about, all the creativity in the run game that he could bring, that group. I'm hoping we get to see all that. But last year when he got in there, I felt like they kind of just ran the offense as is. I'm hoping, as he kind of comes in and he's the guy, that it becomes a little more catered to his skill set, and we can really see the creativity and have some fun with Kyle Shanahan.